We got some breaking, shocking news, guys, and I would have never thought this would have happened, especially the way Tszyu moves in boxing. So his promoter stated they are willing to vacate the title to avoid Terence Crawford, and they are looking for a fight with Errol Spence Jr. Now, I got a lot to say on this one. You do not want to miss this video. And stay tuned to the end of the video, as the last part is the most shocking reveal. And this is the topic that we will be talking about next. But before we get into that, if you guys are not subscribed, please punch and knock out that subscription button. That way you'll never see it again. And ding that notification bell. That way you won't miss any of my new boxing videos. Alright guys, let's get to the round. Ding ding. Okay champs, let's get started. As we all know, Tszyu was supposed to fight this Saturday against none other than Keith One-Time Thurman, and that was supposed to be the main event on the PBC's first pay-per-view showing. And it's just too bad about Keith One-Time Thurman. He's actually one of my favorite fighters, but he hasn't been in the ring for a while. So we all thought the event was going to be ruined, but the PBC did a pretty good job on saving the event. And they put a last-minute replacement in Sebastian Fundora, a towering inferno, and that only gave 12 days notice to get prepared for a fighter like Fundora. And Fundora is a very unique fighter. He is very tall with a lot of reach. Tszyu did not have to take this fight. He could have got another fighter, an easier fighter. And I believe Tszyu stated that he was actually going to spar to prepare for Fundora. But I would not have recommended that so close to the fight, as he can get injured in sparring. But he did it anyways. He said he flew some opponents that matched Fundora's style. And that is literally a tall task. Fundora is so tall, I don't even know how he makes weight. Because of that, I don't see Fundora staying in that weight division too much longer. Kind of reminds me of Kelly Pavlik and Paul Williams back in the day. Those guys were pretty tall for the weight division as well. But Fundora takes the cake. I guess you can have your cake and eat it too. I believe Tszyu is a throwback fighter, and he belongs in my throwback fighters list. And I will be bringing out that fighters list pretty soon. It's similar to Showbiz fighters list. I remember saying I was gonna bring it out like 8 months ago, but it's okay because the fighters list would have changed from 8 months ago. But I called mine the throwback fighters list, and it's basically exactly the same concept as Showbiz the adult fighters list. So Naoya Inoue, Tszyu, Teofimo Lopez, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, Joseph Parker, Francis Ngannou. Just kidding about the last one. I am still working on the other 4 fighters, but I don't know who to pick. Comment below if you guys have any suggestions. Who should I pick and what order should they be in? But remember guys, the throwback fighters list will always look different. The beginning of the year's throwback fighters list will probably look a little different from the end of the year's throwback fighters list. Maybe some fighters go up or down, or maybe new fighters take their place. We just never know. This is boxing. But that's neither here or there. And Terence Crawford activated his mandatory to fight Tszyu for the championship belts. And it is stated that if Tszyu does not negotiate with Terence Crawford 5 days after the Fundora fight, he is gonna be forced to vacate his title. But I really don't think it's a guaranteed win for Tszyu, because he took this fight only in 12 days notice. And this is a unification fight, so if Fundora wins, that means he will be the champion. And this will shake Crawford's plans. But just for the opponent of fighting Tszyu, he can still fight Fundora and become a champion if he can beat Fundora. But I believe if Tszyu had a full camp, he would have beaten Fundora. But in 12 days notice, I'm leaning to Fundora to beat Tszyu. But anything can happen. This is boxing, and Tszyu hits very hard, and Fundora had already been knocked out by Brian Mendoza, a fighter that Tszyu already beat. And I know the triangle theory does not work. It works sometimes, but you have to be a really special fighter like Floyd Mayweather. But Tszyu's manager stated that they were already in negotiating and talking to Terence Crawford for a potential matchup. And he stated if the fight does come to fruition, it will be for the WBC and the WBO super welterweight titles. That's only if he beats Sebastian Fundora coming up on Saturday, which, like I said before, is not a guarantee. And if Fundora wins, who knows, maybe they can have a rematch, and with Tszyu having a full camp, maybe he can beat Fundora, which I don't doubt. With a full camp, he will be able to beat Fundora. But there's also been talks of Tszyu trying to get a fight with Errol Spence Jr. And what trips me out is that they are willing to vacate the belt to take a fight with Errol Spence. As Glenn Jennings, Tszyu's manager, just barely posted. He says they are considering to vacate the WBO belt to make a fight with Errol Spence. But he prefers to talk about that coming up on Monday. But he did state he is willing to fight Terence Crawford next, and stated that the Spence fight would just be from a manager's point of view. I really don't see Tszyu as a duck, and a lot of people are probably calling him a duck, but I doubt that. Boxing is a business, and he is probably saving the best for last, just like any other boxer does. But I have no doubt in my mind that he will fight Terence Crawford. If Tszyu fights and beats Errol Spence, then he would have fought a common opponent with Terence Crawford. And if that happens, this fight will be huge, especially if he beats the ish out of Errol Spence, similar to how Terence Crawford beat the ish out of Errol Spence. But I doubt that. I think Errol Spence had an off night that night against Terence Crawford. Even though I believe Terence Crawford can beat Errol Spence 8 out of 10 times if they fight, but I believe the rematch will be a lot more competitive at 154. So I do not expect the same Errol Spence that fought Terence Crawford at 147 when he faces Tszyu at 154. As Errol Spence looks just a little bit smaller than the Charlo brothers. And it was stated that if Errol Spence did not get the Terence Crawford fight, he was gonna move to 154, as it was hard for him to make 147. He's been in that weight division for a long time. So I see a better, healthier version of Errol against Tszyu. But I just love boxing, and they can all fight each other. Errol Spence should fight Tszyu and get a rematch with Terence Crawford, and he should fight Fundora as well. And they should all mix it up and fight like the old days 3 or 4 times, as there are not too many top level fighters to choose from. The best we can do is put them in there 3 or 4 times against each other. Just like the old days, Ray Robinson and Jake LaMotta fought 5 times. To tell you the truth, I wish I was living in those days. That's how much I love boxing. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, share the video, and that's it for me, champs. I gotta roll.